confusing, congested? Are you just trying to find your way? There must be a light at the end of this tunnel. Well, there's a way to find your calling, to find that job you want and deserve, when someone will come up to you and say, "You're hired." Steve Piazzale, a career and life coach, and welcome to You're Hired, a show about jobs and careers in which we answer questions such as, how do I find work that makes me come alive? How do I take my performance to the next level and get promoted? How do I find work that makes me come alive and really want to do that job? Well, we're going to answer those questions and many more by having great guests on the show like we have today. But first, I wanted to tell you about my website, where you can find 12 keys to getting a great job. You can sign up for my free career newsletter there. And you can also find out about the career coaching I do. And essentially, I work with people one-on-one to help them get unstuck and more quickly get the jobs or reach the goals they want and deserve. This usually ends up saving them time, money, and a whole lot of stress, plus landing them in a better job than they would on their own. You can find this and much more at www.bayareacareercoach.com. Again, that's www.bayareacareercoach.com. And I want to introduce our great guest today. It's Anne Bers, and I'm going to read her title because I want to get it right. She's Manager of Mediation Programs at Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center. And we're going to talk about difficult conversations and how to resolve your conflicts and how to get world peace in about 5 minutes. No. What negotiators do, what excellent communicators do, mediators, and plus she's got a very interesting career being able to follow a volunteer opportunity and turn it into a career. I welcome Anne Bers to the show. Hey, Anne.
Thank you very much.
How are you? So why don't you tell us this interesting story of what you do and the interesting path you took to getting there?
Well, I'm the Manager of Mediation Programs at Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center, which is a community mediation center in San Mateo and serve San Mateo County. I manage a team of volunteers who are trained mediators, and I also design the program and come up with ways that we can serve the community with mediations. And my approach, I guess PCRC's approach to conflict resolution is that conflict is a natural part of life, and that conflict can provide positive opportunities. And so PCRC is there to support people in making the most out of those opportunities that conflict presents. Mm-hmm. So we have a more positive view of conflict, and we think of it as a way that growth can happen, change can happen, relationships can be strengthened, issues can be surfaced, people can have greater understanding. So,
and a little bit of the path you took.
So the way that I arrived in this role was really not a planned one. Mm-hmm. I was in a different career. I was working in high tech. I have a background in communications, so I was doing something maybe with some similarities, but really not thinking about mediation at all, when I saw in the local paper a mention that it was Mediation Week and that there was this organization in the community that helped people resolve conflicts in a non-adversarial way. Uh-huh. And I just thought that's really interesting. I'd never heard of a place like that, and I want to find out more. So and then they said that they had an opportunity to volunteer if people were interested in becoming volunteer mediators. So I pursued that. And it turned out that I had to take some training, which I ultimately did. It was a 25-hour course. And ended up doing that on the side. So evenings, weekends, I was doing mediations as a volunteer. And I ended up racking up 10 years of volunteer experience. Wow. Without even realizing it, because I was doing this other career full-time and never really thought that this would be something, because there was no clear path to becoming a mediator, and I don't think there really is still. It's still not people don't understand about mediation. Sometimes people confuse it with other forms of dispute resolution, or they're not really clear. So I think that our job is to promote this process and to help people find their way into this profession. For me, it was really just following something that I found interesting and doing it more and more whenever I could squeeze it in. And then the opportunity presented itself for me to change careers. So I did ultimately join the staff of the organization I'd been volunteering for 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's really inspiring in a number of ways, because we have a lot of people, as a coach, I advise people to try to volunteer for things, to try it on and see if they like it or not. They can get references, they can get other experience. And you tried it on without jeopardizing your regular career. So you kind of did it, this two-pronged approach, and then when you were ready to make the move, you had some of the back. I know it wasn't quite planned like this, but it's a wonderful example of how somebody can follow their heart and yet not risk their regular job right then and there. You also told me off camera something that I thought was kind of interesting, that somehow you were able to scale your life as well, because a lot of times people think, I have to make the exact same salary I'm making here in the corporate world, nonprofit world. I don't know if I could afford that, but you told me, why don't you tell the audience what you said about finding your path and finding things superfluous or something, you know?
Yeah, it was a little bit scary. I actually did employ a coach to help me think about how I could make that transition. My passion for mediation.
You're a very wise woman employing a coach.
Right, because Steve's a coach. I ultimately struggled with it and was kind of caught in the golden handcuffs of a career that was lucrative, and couldn't really see my way into a different way of living, and maybe a more scaled back, downsized way. And so I just continued to think about it with this coach and envision myself in the role and think about how maybe other things could be shifted a little bit. But really, we didn't plan it out that carefully. I just, at one point, the opportunity presented itself, and I just took the plunge, because I had been talking about how it was my growing passion, and it was finally presenting itself as an opportunity, and it was time to take the plunge and walk my talk, full time. So I know, to get to your question, so I was not so happy in my other career. It was getting to be where I was not really able to spend enough time with people, which I enjoy. I wasn't able to use my communication skills maybe as much as I would have liked. And it was starting to feel like not fun anymore. So I was looking for other kinds of diversions, and I was looking for ways to satisfy my, I guess, I was dissatisfied and not feeling fulfilled in what I was doing, and so I was looking for other things to do, and those things can be expensive. And so one of them was horseback riding. So that's a very expensive hobby, and I was becoming like very interested in doing that. And it was really not my passion, but I was dissatisfied in one area of life and looking for ways to get happy in terms of other hobbies and things. So when I found myself doing mediation, working in the field I really loved full-time, my passion for those side interests kind of started to wane, and I started noticing that my finances were not being dipped into. My disposable income was not so much being disposed of as a way of kind of fulfilling my sense of emptiness and lack of interest in what I was doing, and I was doing what I was passionate about. So actually what ended up happening is that my income was starting to become sufficient for what I was passionate about.
That's fantastic. I think that's really inspiring, because a lot of people do have that block